comment,
and subscribe for more content.
Where's the notification bell?
It's to the right of you.
Oh.
What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Podcast. I'm DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, we have a pretty sweet selection of Funko Pop announcements, considering this past week we did have Comic-Con reveals for 3 days straight, but from two different Comic-Cons, which is pretty sweet. We've never really had that happen before. But for this podcast, the non-convention pops that were announced either during the day or before the SDCC special edition reveals will be on this podcast, but anything that was announced during or after the Festival of Fun reveals will not be on this podcast. That will be postponed to next week's podcast, where hopefully we will have the rest of November 2021 announcements on that podcast and have our segment, The Update. But without further ado, we might as well talk about the first set of Funko Pops for this podcast, which range essentially from November 15th and November 16th, which starting off with some non-convention pops, we have ourselves a 2-pack of Riley and Jonesy from Letterkenny. This is expected to release, I'm pretty sure, as early as February 2022, if I'm not mistaken. On that same day, on February 15th, Pop Culture had announced 2 exclusive pops of Papa Emeritus I and a Winnie the Pooh with pajamas, which I think these were later announced during the week as both Hot Topic exclusives and are available now on the Pop Culture website with restricted shipping to the US. Then on November 16th, Funko had announced a 10-inch variant of Squirrel Pool for the Deadpool lineup. This is a flock pop and will be exclusive to GameStop, and this is expected to release as early as February 2022. Then on that same day, Funko had announced the pops that will be featured for San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition, which first off, we have ourselves 3 variants of the San Diego Comic-Con toucan. We have ourselves a wood deco toucan, and then 2 variants of a metal toucan, which one is red and the other is blue and gold. Also announced for San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition, we have 3 new Imperial Palace DC pops, which we got ourselves a black and white Superman, a metallic The Flash, and a black and white Wonder Woman. And then 3 pops from the Pop Asia lineup that are called 3 Imperials, which first off, we have ourselves Fu, which means happiness, Lu, which means good fortune, and then Shu, which that's probably not how you pronounce it, but it means longevity, which all of these San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition pops are going to be released during the weekend of SDCC Special Edition, which actually would be today as this podcast releases, which is Friday, November 26th. So kicking off with the Letterkenny pops, these are not too bad. I mean, I have not seen the Letterkenny series yet. I know it's super popular, especially here in Canada, and they just announced the new set, and now there's more coming out, which is pretty cool for anyone who's a really huge fan of Letterkenny, including previous Funko Podcast guest, Sully, who is a huge fan of Letterkenny, and this is a pretty decent 2-pack. I don't really know, I guess, the significance of this 2-pack, but I know there is some hype, and I think there also were some people that are wishing for other characters also, if I'm not mistaken. Then we got ourselves Papa Emeritus I from Ghost, which this is decent. I actually realized, I think it was about a month ago, I was like, okay, they have 2, 3, and 4. Did they even make a number 1? And this kind of answered my question. So I guess this is pretty decent. I can't exactly remember what all of the Papa Emeritus pops look like off the top of my head. So I can't really discuss like which one has been my favorite, but this is still pretty decent though. The Winnie the Pooh with pajamas. This is also pretty cool. I like the whole pajama outfit, and I'm sure there's going to be a decent amount of people that are going to be getting this pop, especially if they're already an avid collector of Winnie the Pooh. 10-inch Squirrel Pool that is also flocked. This is okay. I mean, this was kind of unexpected because I wouldn't have thought of, okay, let's make a squirrel with a Deadpool mask and it'll be part of the Deadpool lineup. I guess it's cool to have a 10-inch variant and it's flocked because I don't remember if there's ever been a time where there's been a 10-inch pop that also has the flock specification. I know there's been glow in the dark. I know there's been metallic. I don't think there's ever been flocked off the top of my head. I could be wrong. Maybe there's something on the Funko app. This is pretty decent though. I'm not going to crap on it too much. Then we got ourselves the San Diego Comic-Con Special Edition pops, which, like I mentioned in I think it would have been the last Wednesday's video. I feel like these San Diego Comic-Con special edition pops are probably one of, if not the worst Comic-Con exclusives that Funko has produced. I know it's kind of last minute that they did San Diego Comic-Con special edition because originally the convention was canceled and that led to Funko doing FunCon. And then now they're kind of dipping their toes into San Diego Comic-Con special edition with their pops. But the Toucan pops are probably the best pops of this entire selection of Comic-Con exclusives. I really like these Toucan pops compared to the ones that we've had in recent years. That Toucan Deco pop is probably my favorite wooden Deco pop that Funko has made. Definitely better than the Marvel ones. And the metal Toucan pops are really cool also with the different colorways that are presented here. The DC Imperial Palace pops, these are meh because the majority of them are black and white variants of already existing DC Imperial Palace pops. And then you have essentially a metallic variant of an already existing DC Imperial Palace character of the Flash. I would have rather them make a new character like they did for, like, let's say FunCon, where they did Deathstroke and Martian Manhunter. And then these Pop Asia exclusives, these are okay. I don't really know how many people in North America really care about these kind of Funko Pops. These could be, I don't want to say shelf sitters, but they could be shelf sitters.
Okay, starting off with the Letterkenny 2-pack. These are pretty sweet, and I actually seen the original wave, I guess you could call it now, of Letterkenny pops for the first time yesterday in person, and those looked all right as well. So this could potentially be something that I would pick up, and I think this 2-pack makes a lot of sense in the hockey uniforms with the sticks, obviously. Then we have Papa Emeritus 1, and this is okay. I feel like all of the Ghost Pops kind of maybe should have been released together. I know it's been within the span of like 2 years now we've been seeing these Ghost Pops, but I was excited for it at the beginning, and I thought to myself when it first started, like, oh, I hope they do the rest of the versions. But as they come out, it gets less and less exciting. And this one's decent, but I don't know. I feel like I don't plan on buying all of the versions anymore like I originally intended to. Then we have the Winnie the Pooh in pajamas, and this is a pretty solid pop. Every time we see more and more Winnie the Pooh pops, it makes me want to start a collection of Winnie the Pooh Funko Pops, and this is an all right one. Is it the best Winnie the Pooh pop? I don't think so, but it's solid, and I mean, it's a good. I'm glad that they added the book where they could have left that out and just had him in his pajamas, but that does add a little bit more detail and makes the pop a little more exciting. Then we have the 10-inch flocked squirrel pool. And yeah, I think this is probably the first ever flocked 10-inch pop, which is actually pretty sweet. I enjoy this. This is one of the only Deadpool pops that I've really enjoyed for quite some time. Will I get it? Probably not, but I would like to see what it looks like in person because that's a whole lot of flocking going on. And I think that the idea of the pop is pretty stellar. Then we have the Toucans to start off San Diego Comic-Con, and these are sweet, and it really makes me have an appreciation for the Toucans that we've seen previously, because without those, we wouldn't have these really solid Toucan pops. The other Toucans were not bad, but it's just like, since we're not going to the con, this isn't really something that would be collectible for us to kind of show our experience at the con, I guess you could say. But these are actually really cool looking. I really like the wood decal one, and then the metallic, or I guess they're kind of metallic, the robot ones are sweet as well, and they definitely remind me of some of the characters from Robots, which I actually watched last night, so that's kind of funny. Then we have the Imperial Palace DC characters, and these suck. I definitely agree that we should have seen some new characters or maybe just something else. Like the black and white ones really are not great. They look kind of cool, but I would hate to have to collect these. And then the Flash, I think, is okay being metallic like that, but I don't think we need that either. I think it could have been saved for either, let's say, just one new character for the DC Imperial Palace rather than 3 variant characters. And then we have the 3 pops for the Pop Asia lineup with the 3 Immortals or whatever the hell they're called. I love these. I think that these are sweet. I don't necessarily collect Pop Asia, but these are three pops that I could definitely see myself buying in the future, especially if they are some type of shelf sitter. I think the way they are made looks so cool. It looks like that kind of porcelain slash marble. I can't remember exactly what the material is that these statues would be made out of, but it looks exactly like that. It's like you almost can't even tell, at least from these glam shots, that these are made out of vinyl plastic rather than being like solid porcelain or marble, like I had said. I think this is a great idea, and I would like to see them continue this with maybe other pops, whether it be in the Pop Asia lineup or not.
All right. So the next section of pops we're going to look at is day one of the Festival of Fun exclusive reveals, which all happened on November 17th. So kicking off day one reveals, we have ourselves the Basketball Freddy Funko Pops, which one is a home jersey, which will be a Festival of Fun con only pop. And then we have ourselves the already previously discussed on a Funko Popcast away jersey version of the Basketball Freddy Funko, which will be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. The Cheddar Goblin from Mandy, which will be shared with the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Kyle as Tooth DK from South Park, which will be shared to Entertainment Earth in the US and GameStop here in Canada. Airbending Aang from Avatar The Last Airbender, which this will be shared to the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Play-Doh Pete from Play-Doh, which there are two variants. One will have a red attire, which will be shared to the Funko shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada, and then a blue attired version, which will be a con only Festival of Fun exclusive. The Great Garloo, which is going to be a con only Festival of Fun exclusive. Geralt from The Witcher, which will be shared with Amazon in both Canada and the US. Tracks from Transformers, which will be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US only. Punchline from Batman, which will be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. And then last but not least, for day one of Festival of Fun reveals, we have ourselves Blue Superman, which will be shared with Entertainment Earth in the US and GameStop here in Canada. So kicking off with the Basketball Freddy Funko Pops, these are okay. I'm sure that if you are a longtime listener of our podcast, you've heard my opinion about Freddy Funko Pops and how I'm not really the biggest fan of them. These are cool if they had been released with New York Comic Con. Now, it has been pretty much confirmed on the live streams of Funko that these were intended to be New York Comic Con exclusives, except of course, worldwide shipment delays, and a lot of them did not make it on time. So I'm sure everyone had gotten their hands on some of those Festival of Fun, or previously known as New York Comic Con exclusives, beforehand of when these were announced, which one of these were included, which the away jersey was released on Funko Europe's website about a month ago, and people obtained it with that sticker. If they were released during New York Comic Con, it would have been a little better because they would have went well with the New York Knicks colors. Then we got ourselves Cheddar Goblin from Mandy, which a lot of people are super excited about this because when the Mandy Pops were first announced during, I think, the Fun Days reveals during FunCon weekend, or it might have been Funkoween now as I think about it, they announced the Mandy lineup and they showed off a bunch of pops. And one of them that was shown off was the Cheddar Goblin, but it was never showed off in like glam shots. And people were wondering for months, where is Cheddar Goblin? Is it going to be a Funko Shop exclusive? What's going to happen with this? And now it is essentially, or would have been, a New York Comic Con exclusive, but now a Festival of Fun exclusive. The thing with this that I think makes sense for being a Festival of Fun exclusive is the fact that it is green, because of the fact that Festival of Fun exclusives are being released at Emerald City Comic Con. So going with the green theme definitely makes sense. I like the detail of essentially what looks to be the macaroni noodles coming out of the mouth of the Cheddar Goblin. I don't really know much about this because I have not seen Mandy yet, but this is very appealing to me. Kyle as Tooth DK from South Park. This is pretty decent. It's always cool to see a new South Park Comic-Con exclusive, because considering that we haven't gotten one since, I'm pretty sure, San Diego Comic-Con 2017. Then we got ourselves Airbending Aang from Avatar The Last Airbender. There was a mixed hype for this because people are excited to see an Avatar The Last Airbender pop for a Comic-Con exclusive, but it's another version of Aang. And there's also people that were mentioning that there should be this one certain variant of Aang instead of this one. I think this is okay. I don't think it's the best Avatar The Last Airbender Funko Pop, but I don't think it is the worst either. Then we got ourselves Play-Doh Pete, which was such a huge surprise to see this reveal. Finally, we have Play-Doh Pete because we had the mystery mini set for Retro Toys and it had Play-Doh Pete, but people were wondering where the pop was. And then they announced the retro toy of the Play-Doh container and people were wondering, well, where's Play-Doh Pete? And there's also a huge question within the Funko community because the glam shots have not been revealed yet on the Funko app, whether this is in the Retro Toys lineup or this is considered an ad icon because this is like a mascot of Play-Doh. So it could fall in either one of those categories. Then we have ourselves the Great Garloo, which I think this is actually a Retro Toys pop because when I had researched this, all I had found were like commercials for a 1960s toy called the Great Garloo. There was no like TV show or anything. And there's also a clip of like, I think American Pickers where they found a Great Garloo. So I think that's where this is coming from, especially because on the bottom left corner, I think of the glam shot we have here from Funko, that it does say it was from like a toy company as terms to licensor. Then we have ourselves Geralt from The Witcher, and this is okay. I think this is more of, from what it looks like, a casual Geralt. So it doesn't really appeal to me all that much because we've had better Geralt pops, especially with like that common chase from the wave we literally talked about. I think last week on the podcast, we discussed about that wave of Witcher pops. And I think that this one is not the greatest, but I'm sure there are people that are going to buy it. Then we have Tracks from Transformers, and I think this is pretty decent. I really like the detail involved with this pop. Probably one of the best Transformers Funko Pops that Funko has made yet. Next up, we have Punchline from Batman, and this is okay. I don't know this character at all, but I mean, I like the different colors that are used and how the blue and the purple really pop out with that black. And essentially, there's a little bit of green in there too, which I think is pretty cool. And then last but not least, we have ourselves Blue Superman. And I think this is pretty cool. I like the way the Superman is. And I'm always a fan of seeing kind of these different takes of already existing characters like Superman that have had so many different variants of his normal outfit. Now you have a different version. We kind of had a taste of this at San Diego Comic-Con last year, where it was the Cyborg Superman, and now we have this Blue Superman. And I think this is pretty sweet as terms to a DC pop.
Okay, we have the Freddy Funkos in the basketball outfits, and these are pretty sweet, actually. I really enjoy these. I like the way that the colors are for the away and the home jerseys. They look really cool. I like how orange is one of the colors because it matches the hair. It could have been any color, let's say, for whatever team, whether it's for said cons or not. And they would have looked sweet, but I think because the orange is there and matches the hair, I think it just makes the pops look a little bit nicer. And this gives me hopes that one day maybe we'll see some Freddy Funko hockey pops, which would be pretty sweet. And I'd like to get my hands on those. Then we have the Cheddar Goblin from Mandy, and this pop has a lot of really cool detail. I mean, the sculpt alone looks sweet, and then you have the macaroni coming out of the mouth, which is pretty cool. And he seems like a pretty cool kind of character, especially with the explosions of what I guess would be craft dinner or what you call it in your area. It's pretty sweet, and I think that this pop looks good, and I feel like this will be a pop that holds value for a long time. Kyle as Tooth Decay for South Park, and this is pretty decent, but I would like to see some more new characters for South Park rather than seeing more variants of characters that we've already had, such as Kyle. There's so many characters you could do for South Park, and they've done a pretty good job of doing a lot of them. But I feel like there's still a lot of characters that need to be done. So why we have Tooth Decay, I don't know. Then we have this version of Egg, where I guess you'd be bending the air, I guess you could say. And this looks pretty sweet. But I feel like there's been so many Avatar pops, especially Egg, that I don't know if this is needed. Maybe they could have done another really cool character that people love, such as the Cabbage Man that we seen a few years back. But overall, it's not bad, and I know it'll probably sell decently because it's Avatar: The Last Airbender. Then we have the two versions of Play-Doh Pete, and these are both really sweet, and I do plan on getting both of them. But I do like the red one more. I feel like that is kind of the look that people associate with Play-Doh Pete. DK definitely did bring up a good point. is this an ad icon or is this retro toys? And honestly, I kind of hope that it's an ad icon. I mean, I collect mostly ad icons, whereas I do also collect retro toys. But when you're playing with Play-Doh, you're not playing with Pete, I guess you could say. You're playing with the actual dough inside the container. So this would make sense as an ad icon, in my opinion. But speaking of retro toys, we have the Great Garloo, and this is pretty sweet. I do remember, I don't have a lot of knowledge on this toy, but I do remember seeing it in some places, such as American Pickers, like DK had mentioned. And this is awesome. This is something I really would have expected to see for the Retro Toys lineup. And assuming that this is going to be the Retro Toys lineup, because where else could it really go? But yeah, it's cool that we see the Mark's Toys logo down in the side of the picture. And I mean, I guess I'll probably end up buying this pop to extend my Retro Toys collection even further. Then we have this version of Geralt from The Witcher, and this is okay. I feel like we've seen a couple of really good versions of Geralt, so is this needed? I don't know, but it's not a terrible pop. And then we have yet another Transformer, which I cannot remember the name of, but I think that this one is very sweet. I think that this is a better pop of a Transformer that we've seen recently. I can't remember exactly which ones were most recent, but I remember them being a little lackluster, whereas this one really does look like a Transformer to me, as the past couple ones that we've talked about were kind of meh, and they kind of didn't, like, you could tell they were Transformers, but not as much as this one, in my opinion. And then we have the two new DC pops. The first one, I don't even know what to say about this. It looks like a Fortnite character to me, but I guess it's not terrible. I do think that the blue and the purple do stand out pretty decently, but I could see this being kind of a shelf sitter pop. Whereas for this new Superman, I feel like this is going to sell really well, and I feel like the value on this will go up. Like DK had mentioned, we have seen some newer Supermans like the Cyborg version, which the value on that pop has definitely gone up because that's a really cool pop. And I feel like this pop is pretty much on par with that pop for being decently cool. So I could see the value going up, and this maybe even potentially being a grail one day.
Are you looking for great pop protectors? Then look no further than popbox.ca. They have a variety of 4-inch and 6-inch protectors in different quantities. Do you want to get 10 protectors, 20? You can get even up to 250 pop protectors over on popbox.ca. And also use our promo code of Funko Popcast for 10% off of your entire purchase of pop protectors. The code is going on until supplies last. So go get your pop protector needs now over on popbox.ca using our code of Funko Popcast to get 10% off, and also free shipping over $75 in both Canada and the US with duty fees included.
And let me tell you guys, we're not just screwing around here. These are some great pop protectors. We own a multitude of these protectors. They are some of the best I've seen. Stop buying from EB Games. I'm not boycotting EB Games by any means, but their pop protectors are not as good. So again, use code Funko Popcast for 10% off.
All right, so moving on to the second and final day of Festival of Fun exclusives, November 18th, kicking off with a Cad Bane with Toto 360 from the Bad Batch, which this is going to be shared to Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Jasmine with gold dress as a part of the Disney Ultimate Princess set, which this is going to be shared to the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. A 6-inch Doctor Strange Supreme from What If, which this is going to be shared to GameStop in both Canada and the US. A Diamond Collection Sitting Pikachu, which will be shared to Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Dodoria from Dragon Ball Z, which is going to be shared to the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. John Lennon with New York City shirt, which will be shared to FYE in both Canada and the US. Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek, which will be shared to Target in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Stupid Sexy Flanders from The Simpsons, which will be shared to Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. And the last pop announced for the Festival of Fun exclusives is a new Blacklight Jimi Hendrix, which will be shared to the Funko Shop in the US and Toys R Us here in Canada. Kicking off with the Cad Bane with Toto 360 from the Bad Batch. This is pretty cool. I really like that they made another Cad Bane, especially for those that couldn't obtain Cad Bane during San Diego Comic-Con 2018, I believe it was released. It's cool to have a little bit of a pop and buddy going on because you do see Toto 360 with Cad Bane all the time during the Bad Batch series. Then we have the Jasmine with gold dress that will also have a pin. This is okay. I used to be a pretty decent fan of the Disney Ultimate Princess set because of the fact that they were more of pop deluxes and they were being charged your regular 3.75-inch common price. But now it is a little bit lackluster. I mean, you get the pin because there's the collector's book that you get like 12 of them in. But I don't know, these just don't look as appealing as the original Disney Ultimate Princess pops. I don't know, I'm not a fan of this one all that much. Speaking of something I am a fan of is this Doctor Strange Supreme from What If. This is a very super detailed pop. I really enjoy how the colors really pop up from each other and how there's different colors. You have the orange that really pops up from that dark purple, and then you have the green and then the light blue. There's just a lot going on, and I still, for some reason, cannot remember seeing this form in the very last episode of What If, even though I did watch that episode. Maybe I was like quickly looking on my phone and it just happened on my screen and all of a sudden I missed out on it. But this is really cool. It definitely is one of the best What If pops that Funko has made for the lineup. And I can see this one when it releases on Funko.com being one of the very first ones to sell out, besides, of course, probably the con only pops. Then we got ourselves a Diamond Collection sitting Pikachu, which, okay. So this is kind of understandable, first of all, of how we kind of had that trend of 2 Pokemon pops for a Comic-Con stop, because this was originally intended for NYCC. So we would have had Eevee and Pikachu released at the same time. But of course, worldwide shipment delays kind of hindered that. But did we really need not only a Diamond Collection Pikachu, but a second Diamond Collection Pikachu? Not at all. And especially for a variant that people already hated for the normal one. And now you have essentially a Diamond Collection version, which we already know what's going to happen, though, whether it's at Target or it's on Funko.com. We already know the Diamond Collection Pokemon pops, or I guess really Comic-Con exclusive Pokemon pops, are worth a decent amount of money already, definitely worth more than the common pops. So people are going to snag these pops. Then we have Dodoria from Dragon Ball Z, and this is pretty decent, especially because it is not a repeat of a Goku, Vegeta, or Piccolo for a Comic-Con. And like I mentioned, I think in one of our videos this past week, is that if I'm not mistaken, this is the very first Dragon Ball Z Comic-Con exclusive pop we had in the year of 2021. And the only other Dragon Ball related pop was Jackie Chun from Dragon Ball itself. People are excited for this and they are asking for more different characters for Dragon Ball Z, which I don't blame them, because I'm sure if I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z, I would also get sick of seeing a bunch of Goku, Vegetas, and Piccolos. Then we got ourselves John Lennon with the NYC shirt, which this is an example of a pop that I feel should it even be released now that like you are releasing a Pop Rocks pop wearing a New York City shirt for a Comic-Con that's happening in Seattle, Washington. I just feel at this point you should just postpone it to next year's New York Comic-Con and then just sell it then. But at the same time, this was already released on the market before Funko had announced this pop. I think even Top Pops got this pop. Then we got Alexis from Schitt's Creek, and this is pretty sweet, at least in my opinion, because even though it is the second Alexis pop that we had for the Schitt's Creek lineup, I don't mind there being more variants of Alexis because she's known for having different outfits in the series. And I like this one better than the original one. Then we got ourselves what is a lot of people's favorite and most hyped Funko Pop during the Festival of Fun reveals, and that is Stupid Sexy Flanders from The Simpsons. This is a great Funko Pop. The scene involved with Stupid Sexy Flanders in The Simpsons is funny as hell. And it is great how Funko was able to capture this in a pop form. And this is definitely going to be the first pop that isn't a con only pop to sell out. And for sure at Hot Topic, this is going to sell out. And then we got ourselves the Blacklight Jimi Hendrix, which I'm still iffy on. Is this the Blacklight pop that was announced during Funko Palooza, or is this a completely different pop? Because when you look at the two different photos, they are like different colors from the different ways, but I don't know if maybe it is two separate pops, or essentially it is just, all right, this is the same pop, but we decided to switch the colors, so it will only be one black light pop. But I thought I would discuss about this on the pod because this may be a second black light Jimi Hendrix pop. And I think this is decent. I think, in my opinion, though, I like the colorway of the other black light pop better, besides maybe the hair. I do like what the hair looks like in this one, but I think I really like the colorway of the other blacklight Jimi Hendrix pop announced during Funko Palooza. But overall, I think it's a really cool blacklight pop.
Okay, so we have a new Cad Bane, and it is pretty sweet. It's great to see some Cad Bane, whether it be Funko or anything. It's always awesome because Cad Bane is sweet. So this pop is awesome. I love how he has the two small blasters rather than the longer blaster rifle, I guess it would be called, that he sometimes uses. So this is cool, but I do like the original Cad Bane a little bit better, but it's understandable because I haven't seen all of Bad Batch, so I don't know really the whole thing about this version of Cad Bane. And then we have another one of the Disney princesses with the gold dresses with the pin, and it's Jasmine. And this isn't terrible. These are a pretty cool set to collect, if I'm being honest. I like the fact that you get the pin, which you can add to that book if you have it. And also the pops themselves are pretty cool. I could see a display of all of this selection of pops out of box would look pretty cool because they all have the gold attires on. So it's just a matter of what are we going to see next, but obviously we have to see Jasmine in this lineup. And then we have the Doctor Strange for What If, and this pop is insane. This is crazy. I mean, a pop that might have the most detail that we've ever seen in quite some time. Just wow, there's a whole lot going on with this pop. And I would actually love to see what this thing would look like if it was turned into blacklight colors. I think that there'd be so many colors that it'd be so wild and such a disaster, but I think it would be a lovely disaster at that. Then we have the Diamond Collection sitting Pikachu, and yep, all right, another Pikachu, another Diamond Collection. Two things that we're kind of sick of, but at the same time, whatever. It's not a new Pokemon because I don't mind getting the new Pokemon in common waves rather than having it be something that's more exclusive. So it makes sense, but at the same time, oh gosh, we don't need this. And then we have Dodaria, I think is how it's pronounced. I cannot remember, from Dragon Ball Z. And this is a pretty sweet pop. When I seen this, I was like, wow, okay, cool. It's great to see more Dragon Ball Z pops of characters that are actually pretty sweet and characters that you don't really think of a lot, rather than seeing your general like Gokus and Vegetas and let's say like Piccolos that we see a whole bunch. We're getting this pop, which is pretty detailed. I like the detail on it. I love the like, what do you call it? Like the Saiyan armor, I guess is what that would be called. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's called, but I do like almost everything about this pop. I think it's really cool. Then we have the John Lennon, and yeah, this pop's all right. I've seen this pop and it looks all right. The New York City shirt is kind of weird. The attire itself is kind of odd, but I mean, it's what John Lennon has worn. So, I mean, it's not like Funko came up with it. Overall, I don't know. I think I'd rather see new Beatles pops rather than these John Lennon pops, but that does not seem feasible due to licensing issues. But I guess it's all right if you are a big fan of John Lennon or, let's say, the Beatles. And then we have the new Schitt's Creek pop of Alexis, and this is okay. I mean, it is kind of just one of those human pops. I think if someone's seen this pop out of box, it's not one of those pops where you can actually name the character. I mean, maybe huge fans of Schitt's Creek could, but it's not like a Eugene Levy pop where you kind of already know who it is. So it's not a bad pop, but at the same time, it's not really recognizable. And then we have one of the greatest pops of all time, and that is Stupid Sexy Flanders. The greatest pop of all time was kind of a joke a little bit, but I do think that this is an amazing pop. I popped huge for this. Stupid Sexy Flanders is a quote that I use all the time at work, and I'm so happy we could see Flanders like this in pop form. And man, he dummy thick. He's got cheeks that need to be clapped. And then last but certainly not least, we have the Blacklight Jimi Hendrix. And this is sweet. I love Blacklight Pops. I love Pop Rocks. Jimi Hendrix is awesome. So this is pretty solid. The one gripe I have about it is that I feel like we see too many blacklight pops where they use yellow as the skin tone. Not that it's a bad thing, but it really gives me Simpsons vibes. And I feel like they could just use any color. Like any of these colors could have been the skin tone, but they always seem to go with yellow. So they don't really deviate from that skew, I guess. But this is really cool. And I hope that they start doing more blacklight pops of Pop Rocks because it's so cool. It makes a lot of sense to do Jimi Hendrix because he's kind of psychedelic.
All right, so now we're going to move on to our top 10 Funko Pops list for the month of November 2021. Of course, we are not officially over and done with November 2021 yet because we still have essentially a full, I would like to say, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. But for right now, we will kick off the top 10 list of November 2021 with MD Shady, like usual.
Alrighty, coming in at number 10 is a pop that I do kind of just like, and I know a lot of people did not like this pop at all, and that is MGK, Machine Gun Kelly. I think this is a solid pop. I mean, it gets his attire, his kind of weird attires that he's been wearing within the past few years, kind of right down, and he's got the guitar, which is really cool. And I don't know, say what you want to say about MGK or this pop, but I think it looks a lot like him.
Coming in at number 10 on my list, it is the Festival of Fun shared with Toy Tokyo exclusive tracks from Transformers. This is actually a really cool pop. Loving the detail, like I mentioned. The reasons at number 10, though, is that personally, I probably won't be getting this pop, and there was a bit of mixed hype involved with this pop, which is why it's very low on the list.
Coming in at number 9 on my list is Foo, in brackets, I guess, happiness, from that new lineup of Pop Asia Pops. Like I said, this is just such a cool way to design pops where it gives it that kind of, I wish I could remember the name of what the material is exactly, but it looks exactly like that. And I hope we see more pops kind of like this in the future because I think it's just a great idea.
Coming in at number 9 on my list is the Target exclusive Vision Pop comic covers. This is pretty sweet. I like the pop overall that's inside of the covers. I think what makes it low is the fact that it is a lot of red and it kind of like really distracting. If they would have went with maybe a different like pop to go with this, or just not even do this cover per se, but I mean, it was still cool to see Vision and Scarlet Witch be the first ever Marvel comic cover since we've only gotten DC for the comic covers.
Coming in at number 8 on my list is the Amazon exclusive 11 Stranger Things Build a Scene. I think that this is a decent pop. We've definitely seen a lot of 11s, and I feel like we will continue to see a ton of 11s. And this one isn't amazing compared to others by any means, but I think it's too early to tell of how great the set will look for its final result when we have all 4 pieces. But judging by just this piece, I think it's going to look pretty damn sweet, so it had to make my list.
Coming in at number 8 on my list is the Festival of Fun shared with Funko Shop exclusive Red Attired Play-Doh Pete. I think this pop is pretty cool, honestly. Finally, we have a Play-Doh Pete pop, but once again, I personally don't see myself actually getting this pop. Plus, I think there's a bit more detail as terms to the next 7 pops that are involved with this list and a bit more hype, at least in my opinion, which is why it's low on the list.
Coming in at number 7 on my list, I have the Scarlet Witch comic book cover. I think that this one is better than the Vision, in my opinion. I like the pop. I like the cover that they went with. I don't know. They just both look really great together. Whereas with kind of like DK said, the Vision one, there's just a little bit too much red going on with me. Whereas they kind of nailed it with the Scarlet Witch.
Coming in at number 7 on my list, it is the Boba Fett from the Book of Boba. This is a really sweet looking Boba Fett. I love this attire compared to what they have done with essentially the Mandalorian versions of Boba Fett. Really awesome. Loving the detail with kind of the scratches and the dents on the helmet there.
Moving on to number 6 on my list, I have the die-cast Iron Man. This pop just makes so much sense to be die-cast, considering Iron Man is, at least his armor is made out of all metal practically. And I think that the die-cast pops are pretty sweet. I think they're a great idea. I recently did just see one, or actually 3 of them in person for the first time yesterday. So they are definitely pretty dang sweet.
Coming in at number 6 on my list is the Festival of Fun shared with Target exclusive Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek. I think this is pretty sweet. The hype is pretty huge on this, probably one of the top 3 most hyped pops as terms to the Festival of Fun reveals. The attire is pretty sweet. The detail is pretty sweet as terms to a simplistic human character. However, personally, once again, I don't really see myself getting this, but I did pop huge for this because Alexis is my favorite Schitt's Creek character. But I felt like these next 5 pops definitely deserve to be in the top 5 for November, at least so far.
And now, finally, moving to the halfway mark of our lists, we have coming in at number 5, the Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction's Pop Album Deluxe. I think that this thing looks sweet. The Guns N' Roses pops were some of the first ever pops that I bought. They're definitely in my top 50 pops, probably even in my top 20 pops that I've ever bought. And so seeing new versions of them with these skeleton faces with the album cover art to go alongside with them looks so cool. It's just a shame that these are coming in at a heavy price point, but still at that, this will be a pop album that I buy for sure.
Coming in at number 5 on my list is the Funko Shop exclusive die-cast Iron Man. This is really sweet. Definitely makes sense out of all of them because Iron Man's whole attire is made of metal. So he definitely makes sense to be die-cast compared to the other ones.
Moving on to number 4 on my list, I have the red attire, Play-Doh Pete. I love myself some ad icons / retro toys. And obviously, I feel like there's not really anybody in the world who doesn't like Play-Doh to some extent. So seeing Play-Doh Pete is definitely great. And having 2 versions is really cool. But the red one is more of the one that I think most people would think of. So I think that is the better version.
Coming in at number 4 on my list is the Target exclusive Scarlet Witch pop comic covers. This is sweet. I like the detail, of course, of the comic cover that's inside of it. Very detailed and not so distracting with the red, unlike the Vision one. The only thing I think that really kind of makes this like go down more is the fact that they didn't really do much with the pop itself. The pop is just, they already did that version of Scarlet Witch, except they put it in a little bit of a different pose.
Coming in at number 3 on my list is the brand new sculpt of the grunt from the new Halo wave. I think that this pop looks amazing. And honestly, it's just really cool to go back and see whether or not you're even a fan of something when they do this. But when there's an original pop from years ago and they make that same pop using the skill that they have now over at Funko and just comparing the 2 pops is something that any Funko fan can do and really get a good experience out of. So you can definitely do it with the grunt, and this pop actually looks fire.
Coming in at number 3, it is the Festival of Fun shared with GameStop exclusive 6-inch Doctor Strange Supreme. This pop is amazing. The detail is amazing. The hype is through the roof with this one. And my personal reaction was pretty big on this because of how detailed this is. So definitely top 3 so far.
Moving on to number 2, I have Stupid Sexy Flanders. This pop is great. I think that there's definitely a lot going on with it. The pose is perfect. The way that the eyes are kind of squinted, you could tell that Flanders is definitely stupid, definitely sexy, and definitely having a lot of fun skiing. So I think that this is something that I don't normally say. Sometimes I do say it, but this is a perfect pop. This pop cannot get any better.
Coming in at number 2 on my list, it is the Walmart exclusive Appetite for Destruction Pop Deluxe albums from Guns N' Roses. This is sweet. The fact that they are doing an albums of this album is sweet. They made a different sculpt of sorts with the heads by making it skeleton heads to match the cover of Appetite for Destruction. I think the only gripe is the fact they didn't add the 2 other band members and just only had Axl Rose, Duff McKagan, and Slash to this. But overall, this is sweet. This is one that I could see myself getting, which is why it's very high up on this list. So what's your number 1, MD? Because I'm surprised Stupid Sexy Flanders wasn't your number 1.
Coming in at number 1 on my list, I have the Walmart exclusive pop album deluxe of the self-titled album In Sync. Just really cool way to repurpose pops that are very cheap and not very valuable, and no one really cared a whole lot about when they came out. So that's why it's actually Destroyer by Kiss, my favorite album of all time and my favorite band of all time, pretty much. And I mean, new glow in the dark pops that we've already seen is not the greatest, but at the same time, for me, very damn cool. And I really did struggle whether I would pick Stupid Sexy Flanders or the Kiss Destroyer album to be my favorite pop of the month. But I think that something huge would have to be announced to beat both of those pops out of the 1 and 2 spots.
And coming in at number 1 on my list, it is the Festival of Fun shared with Hot Topic exclusive Stupid Sexy Flanders from The Simpsons. I don't really know if I should explain myself because I think MD pretty much took the words out of my mouth. It is pretty much a perfect pop, and the hype is just astronomically insane with this. Detail sweet. This is going to sell very, very well. Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of this week's podcast. If you enjoyed this week's edition of a Funko Popcast, make sure you smash that like button, comment in the comment section below, and let us know your favorite pop for the month of November 2021. Press that subscribe button for more content like this podcast and any other videos we do on this channel in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. And if you guys haven't yet, follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It'll be listed in the description below. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this week's podcast, and we hope to see you guys next week on a new edition of a Funko Popcast. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
Stupid Sexy Flanders. Peace in, peace out.